Hello and welcome to the Kids Entertainer podcast episode of today, where I will be speaking with Matthew Spraggins from Spectator Party Art. And Matthew does caricature logos and colouring in pages for entertainers. I'm looking at some of Matthew's work at the moment and they are delightful. They are colourful and full of character, where Matthew has taken entertainers and brought them to life in a way that children can identify with a cartoon, I guess, of the entertainer. And I'm very, very excited to welcome you to the Kids Entertainer podcast today, Matthew.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to talking with you and everybody.
Fantastic. Now, I'm going to dive right in, Matthew, and I'm going to ask, how did you get started in drawing caricatures?
Well, thanks for asking about my past. I really do appreciate that. You know, I've always loved drawing, and I've specifically always loved drawing people. As long as I can remember, I've always been drawing in class. I remember when I was in 8th grade, I actually flunked math because I was drawing all the time, but that's a whole different story. But going through college, I went to a specialized art school in Seattle, and I focused in illustration. I was going to be an illustrator. I was going to work for advertising agencies, and I was going to do all these great illustrations for advertising campaigns. And I learned how to paint oils and watercolors and took figure drawing classes. And I came out with all these different styles and techniques, and it was just fantastic. But even though I have all these different styles and techniques, my basic technique always shows through. Just like with everybody, they have their own style and technique. And I was told that with my professor that I was ready to go. You know, he thought I was one of the most tight illustrators coming out of the group that year. And I felt really confident. So I graduated, and I immediately set out to get some jobs as an illustrator. And I went to all the ad agencies, and I showed them all my work. And they were like, well, you know, you've got oil color, you've got watercolor, you've got all these beautiful different things. You've got some political pieces, some lifestyle pieces, and some food product pieces. But what do you do good? What's the one thing that you do good? And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And I couldn't think of the one thing that I ever really wanted to do. I couldn't think, do I want to do oil or watercolor, or political or lifestyle? And years went by, and I ended up doing graphic design as the side. And graphic design became a career. And I worked for companies, Radio Shack. I helped them out. I even did some storyboards for them. I worked with Dillard's doing color correction and Photoshop and lots of different things, and even T-shirts. I worked for a screen printing artist for quite a while. And I just never really knew what I wanted to do illustration, but I've always wanted to be an illustrator and an artist. So I always felt underutilized. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I still really want to do this, even 20 years later. So I was taking the subway, basically in the bus system, to work, and said, I got all this free time. I need to do something with it. Reading books just doesn't cut it for me all the time. I like to read, but not that much. So I said, hey, I think I want to learn to draw caricatures. That sounds really fun. Started bringing a sketchbook. I read a book on how to do it and started practicing. I printed out a bunch of pictures of famous people, so I kind of already knew what they would look like or supposed to look like. And I just started practicing and doodling and learning how to exaggerate, what to exaggerate, and what changes to make, how to make it more funny or less funny. And it took me about 6 months to a year of working here and there and tweaking at it. And then I finally started drawing real people, which was very scary, to say the least. And once I started getting okay with that, I started going to festivals and fairs and drawing caricatures professionally and having people pay me for them. And I ended up working with some agencies, and they would start booking me, and I did less festivals and fairs and more bookings. But now that I'm doing more illustration and caricatures, I still have my background of graphic design and that sort of thing. So I was like, this might be a really nice fit. People ask me to do logos for them, and I put the two together. I think this would be fantastic. It's a fun look. It promotes myself. I did my first logo for myself to help me promote my caricature business. And it just kind of took off immediately. You put your likeness next to somebody, a super fun likeness of you, next to your business name, It's really eye-catching. And then you throw all the sparkling color in there. It's just amazing, the comments that you'll get just from your business card or your likeness on your car.
Oh,
Truly amazing.
what an incredible story. I've just, in that recount of the journey that you've traveled to be here today talking about caricatures for entertainers, I always looked at caricatures and I thought, it's an amazing skill to have, but I've never viewed it as somebody with an extensive art background. In you're talking oil colors and water paints and illustration and all of these influences, and knowing all of those things to be able to get to drawing essentially a cartoon and to capture that likeness. And that is a real eye opener for me, that this in essence is an absolute, it's a skill in one part, but so much talent and that goes with being able to do that. I always stand amazed when you are looking at work and you can look at a caricature and you can go, hang on, this is that person, you've captured that likeness. And that is a real eye-opener for me, that I will never view caricatures quite the same again after listening to that, Matthew. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. Even with caricatures, the term caricature, I guess once you're in it and once you've seen a bunch, what does that really mean? Because every artist has their own style. Some are more portrait-like, some are more cartoon-like, and some are very grotesque and exaggerated. And there are caricature artists that draw a very cute cartoon likeness. I like to think I don't exaggerate a lot. It's not my intent to offend anyone. I don't want to make their nose, if they already think they have a huge nose, to make it overtly big, or if they have a tooth that sticks out or a big gap in their teeth. Unless that's their trademark and they want me to play it up, I try not to embarrass them.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many caricature artists out there who will really exaggerate.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you lose the likeness. I'd like to try to keep the likeness so that it's that person.
Yeah, there's a fine balance between being funny and being offensive, I guess, when you start looking at these kind of things.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
It really is. And I even get a few of my customers who go, I don't really want the caricature look.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather more of a cartoon look.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask them, hey, if you can send me a sample or a style of what it is that you particularly think is cartoonish, because I don't know what they're thinking in their mind as cartoonish, and they'll send me a little picture of a clown whose hair sticking out on the side, or just drawn in a more simplistic way. I go, okay, and I can copy that style to greater or lesser degree.
That is such a fantastic way to be able to, again, I guess, meet the client's need and to make sure you don't offend. I'm sort of thinking now, if I think caricatures, you often see them in the papers, and where those character traits are exaggerated to the point where it becomes offensive. And I think where you're going with this, obviously, you want to promote that person in a fun way, and that's maybe something to keep in mind for our audience when they approach somebody, to have a think about that. And I would certainly recommend you get in touch with Matthew to have a conversation if you are looking for a caricature of yourself or a cartoon. Definitely go and have a look at Matthew's work. And like you say, Matthew, there are styles, and it's about what people like and what they prefer. And I guess it sort of brings me on to the next question, and that is, what makes your caricature logos different from other entertainer logos?
Well, I've seen lots of different entertainer logos that, nowadays we can use photographs, and especially on Facebook and the internet, and they'll just put some type next to their face and they're smiling, and maybe they have a picture of a kid that they did with face paint on it, or they're engaged in a magic act, or a twist in a balloon, but it's still kind of their portrait. It's fun, and it has their business name next to it, but it's not super fun. It's not really, it doesn't scream entertainment to me. It doesn't scream exaggerated sense of humor, really going to make me smile and laugh. It's just, I still don't know how to, or don't realize what I'm going to get from them different from somebody else. And I think with the caricature logo, it really brings a super fun likeness, lots of color, lots of play. I can have you doing something else while you're twisting a balloon. You've got more than one hand. I could put 6 hands on you if you wanted, doing all these different things. So if you twist balloons and face paint, you got a balloon you're twisting in one hand and holding a brush with color in it in the other hand, and now all of a sudden, bam, your logo says super fun,
Yep.
painting and balloon twisting all in one.
I can certainly see that from the work that I'm looking at here, and I get where you're going with it. It is not merely an interpretation from a photograph. It is very much in a picture, essentially bringing the message across of the essence of what it is you offer as an entertainer. You're referring particularly to one picture, and we'll have this up on the website in the show notes after the interview, from this interview, where you have a balloon animal in the one hand and a face painting brush in the other one. And I can almost see that if you do a magic games and balloons, or a magic balloon twisting and face painting, how you can incorporate all those various elements that can be communicated through a picture.
Exactly.
I was just thinking about that. So often the audiences we work with are youngsters and they don't read. So the picture that you are putting in front of them are going to give them the message of what you are about or what it is that you do. So that's a very, very vital piece of communication material you have there.
That's great. The kids see it, and the amazing thing is, well, I can customize the balloon or the face paint or the brush that you love so much, or the magic act that you do, into your picture. I drew a picture for somebody, and I had them holding a balloon sword. And, I don't really want the balloon sword. Can you make it a dog? Well, sure, I'll make it a dog, and if it's a specialized dog, I'll make it into your specialized dog. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, there was one where the lady goes, I want to be holding an octopus balloon. Mm-hmm. The tentacles going here or there or doing this and that. And I was like, absolutely, not a problem. So, I can customize it for your specific magic act, doing whatever it is that separates you and makes you unique. And that's really neat.
That is fantastic.
You do a special balloon twisting, that's your signature trademarked thing. Mm-hmm. You show it off.
So it's basically capturing that USP, that unique selling proposition of you as an entertainer. What is it that you do that makes you different from everyone else that does, children's entertainment, and capturing that within this logo, this caricature that you can use to bring your message across. That's very exciting. Super, super exciting. And I guess sort of the follow-on from having a caricature done would be a colouring in page. I know I have one, and I know of a number of entertainers that has one. And maybe the question to you, Matthew, would be, why would someone be interested in getting a colouring in page?
Well, the number one answer I can think of is you already have your audience right there in front of you. You already have your next paying gig sitting right there in front of you. I can't count how many times I've gotten jobs from jobs. I think most of us get jobs from jobs and or referrals. So when you have a free handout, and boy, don't people love free stuff, especially kids. You give them a coloring page or even pass out the crayons with it if they didn't have any. That part stays behind. They get to keep that for as long as they get to keep that or want to keep that. They color it. The parents stick it up on the fridge or the refrigerator. Mm-hmm. It's sitting there with your logo on it, your picture on it, your contact information on it, and it's so much handier than a business card, which can get put in the pocket or put in a drawer or set aside. It's something the kids are going to remember for a while if the parents keep it even as a souvenir. But to hand out a coloring page to all the kids, or even a personalized sticker with your logo on it to the kids, is just fantastic. You should take advantage of every opportunity that you've got when you have somebody in front of you to promote yourself.
Oh, very much so. I can certainly echo in that, using colouring in pictures already. It's like the conversation continue, or the entertainment the continues after you've gone. That child sits with a keepsake from what they've just experienced, and it's an opportunity for them to relive the wonder and the magic that you've created in terms of the entertainment and the fun that they've had. I find it particularly useful in all entertainment entertainment settings, but particularly schools. They find that really helpful, when you've gone into a school or maybe a holiday camp or a library setting, and the children have experienced great joy and entertainment with you, and then they have this opportunity to then maybe retell their experience to maybe a parent, specifically in a school setting where they may not have been present, where they can tell them, and it becomes active marketing for your services. There you have this child talking about the wonder they've experienced with this picture that brings it all together for them.
Yeah, it is truly amazing, and I hadn't even thought about it from the school perspective. Yeah, they might see an entertainer at school and then go home and show their parents a coloring page, and look what we did today. Look at who came, and that's fantastic. And the parents look at it and go, wow, you really enjoy the show. Yeah, well, maybe I can go to your website and see what you do, and they hire you to do a birthday party or a corporate event. But beyond that, I can't think of anything, and I really, really thought of a lot of stuff on how to market my own business. I cannot think of anything that is more cost-effective than a coloring page. I took the time to draw my own, but it takes no time to run into any kind of copy center and get 50 copies, and it's cheap to get 50 copies. You go to, I don't know how many shows you can do with 100 printouts, but boy, how many kids are at your events. But even if you go through all of them in one shot, go back and make another 50 copies, that's cheap.
Very much so.
I can't think of anything else.
It is very, very cost effective.
Such a low price point.
That's it. That's very cost effective. I order them at 1,000 pages at a time. And it's an incredibly cost effective way, and it's a lovely give out. It's you giving your audience, they go home with something. It's a great selling point. I use it, like I say, in all this. When I speak to my clients and bookers, I say to them, every child leaves with something from the party, and they get a colouring in picture. They go home with a colouring in picture, and they treasure it. They really, really treasure it. Now, Matthew, I wanted to ask you, so you've got your caricature, you've got the logo, you've got your colouring in page. What else can you do with that logo?
Whatever you can possibly think of to use it for, you can certainly use it for. I've seen some logos that some of the entertainers around us have actually gotten put on some T-shirts. And if somebody ended up getting a caricature logo from me, I can simplify the colors down to however many they needed. I can, put them on a T-shirt, get some printed up, and hand it to the birthday kid. Now they're wearing your logo around. Everybody needs advertising on their car. The wraps are the big thing nowadays. Driving down the street, and you got your car all wrapped up, and it's not even just the back windshield. It has all your logo and information on it and contact information. I've seen several cars with large logos on the back window. To have something that just yells entertainment from 5 cars away, you're looking at it before you're even reading it, just because it's entertaining and fun to look at. And even when you get closer up to the car, some of the smaller magnetic decals that can just go onto the door. Well, I can apply, or give you the tools to apply your logos to just about anything. You can put them on mugs now and bags, but specifically with advertising, just to drive around with it on your car is huge nowadays.
Yep. And I guess that the whole idea is that brand identity, where you say anything from digital to print to all these various methods you can distribute and make sure that whatever it is that you do, it's got your branding on it. Like you say, from your car to maybe the giveaway you give to the child that's branded with your logo and your caricature, the handouts that goes to all the guests, maybe even obviously your digital mediums in terms of your website, maybe if you do party invitations. It just there's so many applications for it, and having something that is so in line with what it is that we do, that carries that message over, that entertainment message over, I think is crucial for any entertainer to have.
Absolutely. And the other thing is where I put my logo. If I'm going to have it on a banner, because my caricature logo is such an eye-grabbing type of logo, I put it up at the top, front and center. It's one of the first things they see. A lot of people will put their business logo or their name down towards the bottom, and why. I don't understand that. Even if I just did a simplified type logo, I would hopefully make it really, really fun for the person that they would really want to show it off and stick it right up at the top of everything to be seen. Because I mean, we are entertainers, and I really want the entertainment aspect of everything to show through before anybody even reads anything. And that's really where I'm trying to go to help people out.
Yeah, I guess having a caricature type logo done like what it is that you do, Matthew, is really serves a very different purpose from just a branding, if you wish, in terms of sticking it in the corner. It is very much about that message you're communicating to everyone that is within the area that you entertain, those children. It creates that fun, or it almost creates an atmosphere. It does so much more than just saying, oh, this is such and such, or this brand, or whatever the case may be. That I think it serves a much greater purpose than just a standard logo, if you wish, than just saying this is part of this company or whatever the case may be. I think it's a very, very
Right.
much to be displayed, like you're saying, center at the banner at the top where it's big and it's bold and it's easy to see and it's attention grabbing. I think it's got
Absolutely.
great application. Then, lastly, I wanted to ask Matthew, we hear a lot about logos and we've just spoken about branding and all of these kind of things. But a question for you, as all things evolve, and I would want to get an idea from you, what is the difference between a modern logo and a logo from, say, 15 years ago?
That's a fantastic question, because I know a lot of entertainers, we are not as young as the people we are entertaining. We come from a different age and different background. And what we've seen as far as logo design has certainly changed. And hopefully we've all kept up with the time. But some of us get into a mindset and we think one thing, the reality is completely different. And back in the day, even 20 years ago, when I was in design school, we were told, don't design anything with a gradient, a gradation, or a shading, because they're very hard to reproduce. You want to design something with flat color that's bigger, large blocks of color and that sort of thing, but it's still very flat. Nowadays, with the printing processes that we have, you can print on anything, buy anything. You can get away with having multiple colors, multiple blends, multiple shading techniques, very fine detail that can pop. It's just amazing what we can do nowadays, which makes it that much more fun, that much more entertaining, and just looking at it and going, wow, that's neat. If people want something with some flat color rather than a gradient or two colors blending into each other, absolutely, I'll be glad to continue to just do flat color. And of course, it plays off with the coloring pages and that sort of thing, and even some caricatures, they still look for a cartoon look, have some flat color on them. But to be able to do more gradients nowadays and shading and blending techniques and being able to print it accurately, no matter where you go, it's going to be consistent. And even on a Xerox machine, if you throw a colored logo that has a lot of gradients on there, you're not going to get a black and white mess of mud, which you used to get. Nowadays, it picks up those fine details and it turns them into a beautiful blend, and it's really nice, and it's very professional nowadays. You can get away with so much more, and I would really like to take advantage of that and utilize that to our benefit.
That is such an interesting point. We see it all around us. Technology is changing all the time. If you apply it to something as simple as a few years ago, the music that you'd use maybe at your show was maybe on a CD or maybe a mini disc, and nowadays it's all iPods or you use your phone for that. You know what I mean? The technology is available to us to entertain as constantly changing, and the same is true for your logo design. I'm certainly, I was at the beginning of this conversation, I thought, oh, I love this, but you know what, I have got a caricature, I've got one that I had done a few years ago and it's just great. But the truth of the fact is that we are changing and technologies are changing, and maybe it's time to have a look at your caricature, your logo, and have a look and say, is that still representative of me? And is that still representative of where I am and what I do? And why would we continuously update our show and our equipment and the technologies and the techniques that we use, but not apply the same sort of thought process with something that is so important, that carries such an important message? So maybe there's an action for our audience. Guys, go and have a look. Go and have a critical inspection of your caricature, of your logo, and see, is this still current? Is this still representative of what it is that I do? Have I maybe got a little bit less hair, or maybe more hair in the case of the ladies, if you maybe grown your hair a bit? And have a look at that, and might be an idea to get that updated. And I can highly recommend for our audience to contact Matthew, get in touch. We'll put all the details, web address and all of that in the show notes, so you can find Matthew very, very easily. Go and have a look and make sure you are making use of the technologies and what is available to us now. Matthew, I can just say thank you so much for your time and bringing me up to speed with the latest development in printing technologies and design and what is available to us now. I've found that very informative, and has certainly given me something to go and think about, and to go and have a look at and do an honest review, I guess.
Thank you very much. I really do appreciate you guys letting me talk about myself and what I really love to do. And I hope to meet a lot more entertainers out there, and just to help them promote themselves with themselves.
I really like that. That is such an apt ending for our interview. Thank you very much again, Matthew. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you.